Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayam udiraye Nasta prayeshu abhadresu Nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama sloke Bhavatad bhaktir haituki twayi Is that right?
Little change. That's okay.
All right, so we're on the a new chapter, second verse, second chapter of the second canto. And it's text number 2, but it's 2 through 7 today, a long verse. A different verse, not a lot of them exactly like this one. It's good for all of us materialists. Let's go to answers. Let's see. That's text number 3 there. Just 1. I guess maybe what did I do? I messed up. Somehow I looked at the wrong verse early this morning. I don't know what I was looking at. Maybe I looked at, the Lord in the Heart, chapter 2. I can't remember what I looked at. Maybe I looked at chapter 3. Let's see. I got to find this out for my own sake. Yeah, I was looking at chapter 3 this morning when I looked over the verse.
Oh, okay.
That was really a different verse. I thought that was the verse. So anyway, this will be new to me. I haven't been meditating upon that other verse. It's the wrong one. Oh, like so many surprises, huh? All right, let's see if we can do the Sanskrit then. Sabdasya Hi Brahmana Esha Panta Sabdashi Brahmana Esha Panta Yan Namabir Yayati Dir Apadahi Yanama Biryayati Dira Patahi Paribrahman Tatra Na Vindate Tan Paribrahman Tatra Na Vindate Tan Majamaje Vasanaya Sayanaha Mayamaye Vasanaya Sayanaha Sabdashi Brahmana Esha Panta Yanama Biryayati Dira Patahi Paribrahman Statra Navindatan Mayamaye Vasanaya Sayanaya Sabdashi Brahmana Esha Panta Yanama Biryayati Dira Patahi Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Tan Maya Maye Vasanaya Sayanaha Sabdashi Brahmana Esha Panta Yanama Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai.
Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai.
Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Tan.
Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Tan.
Maya Maye Vasanaya Sayanaha.
Maya Maya Vasanaya Sayanaha.
Someone else want to try?
Sabdasya hi brahmana esha pantha.
Sabdasya hi brahmana esha pantha.
Yan nama virdhayati dhir aparthai.
Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai.
Pari brahman statra na vindate arthan.
Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Arthan.
Maya me vasanaya sayanaha.
Maya Maya Vasanaya Sayanaha. Sabdasya hi Brahmana esha pantha.
Sabdasya Brahmana esha pantha.
Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai.
Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai.
Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Arthan.
Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Arthan.
Maya Maya Vasanaya Sayanaha.
Maya Maya Vasanaya Sayanaha.
Sabdasya hi brahmana esha pantha.
Sabdasya hi Brahmana esha pantha.
Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai.
Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai.
Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Arthan.
Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Arthan.
Maya Maya Vasanaya Sayanaha.
Maya me vasanaya sayanaha.
Sadashi Brahmana Ashapanta.
Sadashi Brahmana esha pantha.
Yanama Dete Dhirapatai.
Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai.
Paramam Statra Navindata Ritan.
Hari
Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Arthan.
Maya Maya Vasanaya Sayanaha.
Maya Maya Vasanaya Sayanaha. Ladies? Sadashi Brahmana esha pantha. Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai. Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Arthan. Maya Maya Vasanaya Sayanaha. Sadashi Brahmana esha pantha. Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai. Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Arthan. Maya Maya Vasanaya Sayanaha. Anyone else? Oh, go ahead. Sadashi Brahmana esha pantha. Yanama Vidyayati Dhirapatai. Hari Brahman Tatra Navindate Arthan. Maya Maya Vasanaya Sayanaha. Okay, word for word. Sabdasya
Sabdasya
of the Vedic sound.
Of the Vedic sound.
He certainly Brahmanaha of the Vedas.
Of the Vedas.
Esaha the Pantaha the way. Yat what is.
What is
Namabi
Namabi
by different names.
by different names.
Dhyayati
Dhyayati
Pandit
Panas
the intelligent.
Intelligent.
Upattahi
Upattahi
by meaningless ideas.
by meaningless ideas.
Paribrahman
Paribrahman
wondering.
wandering.
Tatra
Tatra
there. Na never.
Never
Vindate enjoys. Artan
Arthan
reality. Maya maye an illusory thing. Vatsanaya by different desires. Shayanaha as if dreaming in sleep. Translation. The way of presentation of the Vedic sounds is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. Wow, that had a lot to do with the verse I was studying. Anyway, let me continue the translation. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly sensory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. Please repeat. The way of presentation.
The way of presentation
of the Vedic sounds.
Of the Vedic sounds
is so bewildering.
So bewildering.
That it directs the intelligence.
It directs the intelligence
of the people.
Of the people
to meaningless things.
Meaningless things.
Like the heavenly kingdom.
Like the heavenly kingdom.
It's actually kingdoms, plural. Okay, next sentence. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly sensory pleasures.
Dreams of heavenly illusion pleasures.
Heavenly illusory pleasures. But actually they do not relish. Any tangible happiness. In such places. Gee, let's see if Srila Prabhupada can convince us of this in the purport. The conditioned soul is always engaged in laying out plans for happiness within the material world, even up to the end of the universal limit. He is not even satisfied with available amenities on this planet Earth, where he has exploited the resources of nature to the best of his ability. He wants to go to the moon or the planet Venus to exploit resources there. But the Lord has warned us in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 16, about the worthlessness of all the innumerable planets in this universe, as well as those planets within other systems. There are innumerable universes and also innumerable planets in each of them. But none of them is immune to the chief miseries of material existence, namely the pains of birth, the pains of death, the pains of old age, and the pains of disease. The Lord says that even the topmost planet, known as Brahmaloka, or Satyaloka, and what to speak of ever planets like the heavenly kingdoms or the heavenly planets, is not a happy land for residential purposes due to the presence of material pains, is above mentioned. Conditioned souls are strictly under the laws of fruitive activities, and as such, they sometimes go up to Brahmaloka and again come down to Patalaloka, as if they were unintelligent children on a merry-go-round. The real happiness in this kingdom of God, the real happiness in the kingdom of God, when no one has to undergo pains of material existence. The real happiness is in the kingdom of God, when no one has to undergo the pains of material existence. Therefore, the Vedic ways of fruitive activities for the living entities are misleading. One thinks of a superior way of life in this country or that, or on this planet or another. But nowhere in the material world can he fulfill his real desire of life, namely eternal life, full intelligence, and complete bliss. Indirectly, Srila Sukadeva Goswami affirms that Maharaj Parikshit, in the last stage of life, should not desire to transfer himself to the so-called heavenly planets, but should prepare himself for going back home, back to Godhead. None of the material planets, nor the amenities available there for living conditions is everlasting. Therefore, one must have a factual reluctance to enjoy such temporary happiness as they afford. I'll repeat that last sentence. None of the material planets, nor the amenities available there for living conditions, is everlasting. Therefore, one must have a factual reluctance to enjoy such temporary happiness as they afford. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to the second sloka of the second chapter of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Om Aganat Mirandasya Gananjana Shlakaya Kachumi Tam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master has opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. Therefore I offer my obeisances unto him. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pungam Lingayate Girim Yakri Patamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. By the mercy of the spiritual master, even a lame man can cross mountains, and a blind man can see stars in the sky. So, hopefully, an ignorant person like myself can say something about this sloka. This is the difference between the Bhagavatam and so many religious scriptures. And it's confirmed here in the verse, even the presentation of Vedic sounds. Because the Vedic sounds come from Vishnu when he breathes out the universes. And they come along with the universe. And in one sense, it's one sound. But for our understanding, in this day and age, which begun approximately 5,000 years ago, the literary incarnation of Krishna or Vishnu, Veda Vyas, divided that sound into four when he put it into writing. Because all this was put into writing. Previously it was not in writing. people didn't use writing in previous yugas. The Brahmins taught, and the Brahmins would hear knowledge through the Brahminical disciplic succession. And they would transmit that knowledge to the mass of people. Eva Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. And Eva people, within the kingdoms. So, Veda Vyas took the Veda and divided it into four. Rik Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. And they each have different significance. The Sama Veda has many hymns that are sung. I think the Atharva teaches the ritualistic performances of fire yoga, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. I forget which ones do what. And then he put a disciple in charge of each one to teach those. Then he, along with these Vedas, he gave the Upanishads, which basically teach that we are Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi. Can you say that, Zen? Aham Brahmasmi. See, Aham means I, but Brahmasmi means spirit. I am spirit. That means I'm not flesh and blood. We think we're flesh and blood because we're growing in it and we also dwindle in it. And so naturally we tend to think, I am this body or I am this flesh and blood, but in reality, I'm the spirit or the consciousness, the person, the self. I'm the self in the body, but I'm not the body. The body is what I have inherited by my previous activities. Just the type of body I developed. But in reality, I am the soul, and the soul can develop a spiritual body, just like we've developed this material body. But that requires coming in contact with a guru or a bona fide spiritual master. The Upanishads do teach Aham Brahmasmi, that I am spirit. And various ones put stress on impersonal Brahman or spiritual understanding and on personal understanding of the absolute truth, depending on what Upanishad you're reading. And then Veda Vyas tried to give like a summary study of everything. Not that he tried. He's great. He's Krishna's literary incarnation. He did a perfect job. But he put it all into a summary study. Somebody else, Basu Ghosh, was speaking about this. He put it into code form, where it's like a code, and makes it a little bit hard to understand everything because it's very condensed. But the sannyasis of this world, they take this very seriously. That means the renounced teachers in society, or the renunciates of society, within the formal Vedic Varnashram Dharma, or the formal plan of Krishna for the elevation of human society. So there is this renounced order of life that gentlemen who are very renounced and very scholarly can take. Without scholarship or knowledge of the Vedas and without genuine renunciation, then it's definitely not recommended. They can take that order of life. Practically speaking, one has to be a Brahmin. Otherwise, it's just not possible. You see, when the Kshatriyas go to the forest, they practice yoga. They don't take sannyas. Only Brahmins take sannyas. Because their minds have been immersed in Vedic scriptures, and they're generally quite scholastic on that matter. So anyhow, the Vedanta Sutra gives a really summary understanding of everything, and all the different sampradayas or lines of disciplic succession. have given a thesis on this. And if a line of disciplic succession doesn't have a thesis on Vedanta Sutra, generally all the Brahmins do not consider it bona fide. So when Mahaprabhu's disciplic succession, because Mahaprabhu, our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took initiation into the Madhava Sampradaya. Madhava gave his study on Vedanta. I forget the exact name of it, but it's Madhava's presentation. Just as Ramanuja had done, just as Sankaracharya had done. We've been reading in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charanamrita in the morning, why the devotees should not study Sankaracharya's commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Because it gives an impersonal view of things. And Sankara is so powerful that it can very easily delude one, even a Vaishnava. So it's not recommended that we study his Sarat Bhashya, his commentary on Vedanta Sutra. We should study the Vaishnava's commentaries on Vedanta Sutra. So Mahaprabhu took his initiation in the Madhva Sampradaya. However, Mahaprabhu's teachings were slightly different. I forget exactly Madhava's presentation. They each have the Vaishnavas have a Vaishnava presentation, but there's a different stress that each of them give. Like Ramanuja gives one stress, Madhava gives another. I believe Madhava is duality. That's why you see him like this. Soul and super soul. There's soul and there's super soul. They're different. And Sankara's was, they're one. Monism. And then, there's like Sudha, I forget the other words, but it's qualified monism, a qualified understanding of monism. And then there's another one that Nimbarka Acharya gives, or Vishnu Swami gives. Vishnu Swami being the modern Acharya of the Rudra Shiva Sampradaya. Nimbarka being the modern Acharya of the Kumar Sampradaya. That Sampradaya coming from the original expansions from Brahma into this universe. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't stick strictly to Madhva's presentation. He taught what we call Gaudiya Vaishnavism. That just means the Vaishnavism taught by Mahaprabhu, basically. So Mahaprabhu's presentation was a Chincha Veda Veda Tattva. A Chincha inconceivable, Veda the truth. Abeda, or the oneness, the truth, the difference. Chincha, Veda, Abeda, Tattva. Tattva is truth. The simultaneous oneness and difference of the truth. That the truth is simultaneously one, yet different. So that was his presentation, and of course he elaborated upon the fifth rasa that one can have with Krishna specifically. Before Mahaprabhu, it really wasn't publicly presented very much. Madhavendra Puri, the spiritual master of Mahaprabhu's spiritual master, was the first to present it, but it was really just amongst his associates. Isvara Puri, of course, involved it, and he imbued Mahaprabhu with it, who already had it, but it comes in line with the disciplic succession. And Mahaprabhu expounded upon the Madhurya Ras and Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, whereas previously maybe there was some talk of Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka, but the Vrindavan pastimes were really far too intimate for people to discuss and really understand it. Like even Srila Prabhupada, doesn't want us to publicly propound upon the songs of Jayadeva Goswami, because they deal too much with the conjugal pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and people in general won't understand them, just like the British never understood them. They considered it all to be the work of the devil, because Krishna is unmarried boy and he's flirting with all the married girls of Vrindavan in the eyes of the Christian world. And so they consider this to be demoniac. So it had to be a presentation like Prabhupada made in Krishna book. But he instructed Yogeshwar specifically, that one disciple, he said, read that from Jayadeva Goswami's poem. And when he read it, he said, now do you think the people of the world will understand that in the proper way? And therefore we don't expound upon that. We basically sing the song of Jayadeva Goswami, the composition of the Dasa Avatar, the 10 avatars of Vishnu. But we don't go into, maybe some devotees privately read them, but we don't expound upon it for the public because that was Prabhupada's instruction. They won't understand it. These things have to be presented properly, otherwise people take it cheaply. And they really can't grasp the spirituality, the tremendous spirituality of the whole truth between Radha and Krishna. So anyhow, Mahaprabhu considered Srimad Bhagavatam to be the best commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, on Vedanta Sutra, because it was written by the author himself. Veda Vyasa's Vedanta Sutra, after Vedanta Sutra, and also the writing of Mahabharata. He was not satisfied. This is all in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Narada Muni told him to expound upon the Lord's devotional service. And so he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. Mahaprabhu takes that to be the commentary on Vedanta Sutra. And that's how it was for his chief disciples, the Goswamis, who he instructed to put into writing all of his teachings for the welfare of people. Mahaprabhu himself only writing the Shashastikam prayers, 8 verses of Shashastikam. Otherwise he was a living the epitome of devotional service. But he didn't expound upon it in writing for the people in general. He empowered his disciples to do that, the famous Goswami of Vrindavan. And they wrote tremendous amounts of books. Right from Shastras explaining pure devotional service with all of these intricate teachings of Mahaprabhu concerning the different rasas. And so therefore we have Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami, which Prabhupada condensed into Nectar of Devotion. And we take out method of worship from the Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatana Goswami and perhaps Gopal Bhakti Goswami also, which was condensed by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj and under the order of Prabhupada condensed by his disciples for our method of worship and daily living. So they gave so many books. And then, it passed down to their disciples, the 3 foremost being Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasa Acharya, and Shyamananda Pandit, who took all these books and brought them back to Bengal and Orissa and began teaching them to the devotees. Look what Lord Chaitanya's disciples have done for us. They've put all of Mahaprabhu's teachings into writing, even the most esoteric things. Some of these things are so esoteric that they were buried in the samadhis with the Goswamis. But, so many are there. And so they began to teach all these. And down to their disciple, most famous being Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, whose prayers we chant at Mangalarti. The Guru Vastikam comes from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But we became challenged by Neva Vaishnava Sampradaya, because we were doing the puja and the temple of Govindaji, which had been taken out of Vrindavan because of the Muslim jihad and brought to Rajasthan, where there were some powerful Maharathas or Rajasthan. Well, how would they call those people?
Rajputs.
Rajputs. They are powerful Kshatriyas who were protecting Vedic Dharma there, and the Muslims were always trying to conquer them too, but they were able to maintain their boundaries. With the constant warfare that went on with the jihad that was taking place. So the Govindaji temple was there, and it was Gaudiya Vaishnavas doing the puja, coming in line of disciplic succession from Mahaprabhu. So the Ramanuja Sampradaya challenged it. They went right to the king and said, you have these so-called Brahmins doing the puja here, but what Sampradaya are they in? Well, Mahaprabhu is in the Madhva Sampradaya. Then why are they not teaching Madhva's commentary on Vedanta if they're actually, Madhva disciples? And so, they would explain, Mahaprabhu is incarnation of Radha and Krishna, and he took the Srimad Bhagavatam to be the natural commentary on Vedanta, and that's what we follow. Mahaprabhu's teachings, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is the commentary on Vedanta. So they challenge. This is not, well, it won't do. We can't accept that. The Acharya has, the Acharya has to write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Otherwise, where's the proof of his scholarship? Mahaprabhu didn't write it. The Goswamis didn't write it. Narottam Srinivas, Shyamananda Pandit didn't write it. Vishwanath Chakravarti didn't write it. He was still alive. They were being challenged. If you can't produce it, they were telling the king. If they can't produce one, then how can you allow them to do the puja? So the Ramanuja Sampradaya was there. They could do the puja. Most of the temples that Hindus are opening here in America, they're bringing Ramanuja priests to perform the puja. Today. So what to speak of then in 16th century India? The Ramanuja Sampradaya was very much alive, and they were willing to do the puja for the Govindaji deity, for Govindaji. So the king had to, make a decision, and he told the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, he told Vishwanath Chakravarti, if you can't produce a commentary, what choice do I have? Every bona fide Sampradaya needs a commentary on Vedanta. So if you're part of the Madhva Sampradaya, you have to follow Madhva's commentary. But you don't. You follow Mahaprabhu's distinct teachings. So he had, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had one disciple who was a very powerful Brahmana. I forget what line of disciplic succession he came in. It probably was Madhava also. He was a very powerful Brahmin, but he became a disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and took up the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada dedicates his Bhagavad Gita to him. Srila Baladev Vijayabhusana Thakur. So the job was given to him. And he had to produce it in a very short amount of time. It's very difficult. They don't have computers. They had to write on palm leaves. And they had to write it in Sanskrit. People have, of course they'd write. They wouldn't be big pandits if they didn't know Sanskrit, especially back then. They had to, this all has to be produced in Sanskrit, either prose or verse form. And it has to explain Vedanta Sutra according to the teachings that you are presenting. So he was very fortunate because Govindaji himself dictated to him. And it became known as the Govinda Bhashya, or the Gaudiya Vaishnava's commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So he was able to produce it, I think, in 3 days' time, if I'm not mistaken, and presented it to the king, and it was accepted. So, anyhow, the point here, to get back to what the class is supposed to be about, the Vedic sound teaches people, and actually it teaches people in the very verses that I studied this morning, how to worship a particular deva to fulfill our desires. Whatever that desire be, for a good spouse, for health, for strength, for money, whatever the desire may be. There's a deva that can be worshipped, that can help one in that matter. And many people do that in Vedic society. It's common. Just like it's common in our society to get a loan, to go to the banking system, or to go to science, figure out how to get a medicine to take care of this, or talk to economists about how we can run the economy in such a way that everybody can get what they want. It's sort of similar like that. It's how to fulfill our material desires. It's misleading though, because it's not the most important thing to fulfill all these material desires. We fulfill them, and we fulfill them, birth after birth. The famous analogy Prabhupada gives of chewing the chewed, like chewing bubble gum where all the sugar is chewed out of it. It's not sweet anymore. It's chewing the chewed. It's already chewed. It's not sweet anymore. So people in the wheel of samsara, birth after birth, you don't get out by just following the Vedic sound to worship the devas to fulfill our desires. By going up to the heavenly planets, or even becoming an Indra, or even becoming a Brahma. What's necessary is that one becomes a pure devotee of Sri Vishnu, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. We must become a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu in this world. The same person, but Krishna expands the material world through his Vishnu form. So that's the science that Srila Prabhupada expounded and that Mahaprabhu expounded, that Srimad Bhagavatam expounds. That it's not so important gaining all sorts of success in this material world if one doesn't understand their constitutional position, eternal constitutional position, is the eternal servant of God. We cannot fulfill our desires in this material world without surrendering to God. People who disobey the Vedas and don't care for God's arrangement, don't care for God or the Devas, and go out and try to do everything on their own, and many times, a lot of times, create all sorts of bad karma. They never really fulfill their desires. They just suffer. But when we surrender to God, one can fulfill their desires in this material world. But it's tricky, because really, this world, Prabhupada gave the great analogy. In this world, we are like fish out of water. This world will not satisfy us. We can't just get immersed in trying to fulfill our desires in this world. We have to see beyond it, that actually I'm not of this world. I'm the self, the eternal soul within. And I must fulfill my Sanatana Dharma, my eternal Dharma, not my material Dharma, my Dharma in this world, which may change from birth to birth. I have to fulfill my Sanatana Dharma. My constitutional position is Krishna's eternal servant. I'm just not, a servant of this material world. Birth after birth will be chasing the opposite sex. Birth after birth. So what do? We follow the line of disciplic succession coming from Mahaprabhu, teaching us all about Krishna and how to render pure devotional service from him, foremost of which is to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. It's most important to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and to chant Mahamantra. These are like most important things. Then we can, start to, our desire can become pure. I mean, everybody coming from the material world, we have like trillions of material desires burdening us. You know, we can't be happy without fulfilling them. So but when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, those desires start to become purified, and instead of collecting a bunch of money to build myself a big house and have all kinds of amenities and a wonderful family, I can start thinking about how to do things for Krishna with it. Just like the famous story of the Brahmin who was a Maza and took birth as a snake ghost, and his sons were just as miserly. And when they realized where the money was, the father told them, you better use it right or you're going to end up just like me. And so they did. They used it for Krishna, you know, to build temples and to do things that were good for people, you know, such as providing water and food that could be offered to Krishna, and the people could partake of that. And they attained Vaikuntha. They didn't just attain to Indraloka or some material higher destination whereby we then really enjoy life, like Madhava Priya's little painting over there shows. You know, you follow the soul going up those like channels of light, and it shows that one can go on to impersonal realization in the all-pervading Jyoti or light, or one can go on to the heavenly planets, and you see the Deva sitting down there with the Devi. You know, enjoying life. I mean, who sits around the material world like that? You know, you see, they show pictures of people who go out to make money. I mean, even the women are chased out to make money. It's like they beat them with a whip. Get out there and make money. Make this economy work. Or join the military to defend it. You know, they beat us like that, you know. Make this, you know, keep this civilization moving. Don't be bad or you'll end up in the jail or you'll work for pennies. That's what they make them do. They put them in jail and they make them work for pennies. So we can work for dollars. You know, we're a little bit free. You know, we can go get a beer when we want. They can't. You know, they have to have everything smuggled in. So, but you know, Devas, they have all sorts of power and everything very celestial. You know, they have really great drinks, good drinks. You know, all sorts of stuff. You know, it's a great place. But you know, we can get easily trapped by that. I mean, I know you can. I mean, I can. You get easily enamored by this stuff. But if we're hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then you know it's like it reveals it all to you very vividly. But you have to keep hearing it. Otherwise, you know, if we listen to the radio or the computer, then it's going to convince us to enjoy this world. So, you know, we have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, teachers, all right, you know, nobody's telling you not to eat. You know, nobody's telling you not to have a family. Nobody's telling you not to keep warm. They're saying just do everything for Krishna. You know, make Krishna the focus. That was what Mahaprabhu was stressing in Navadvip. You know, everybody here is trying to just do big family things and worshiping the Devas to attain all sorts of success and be prominent in their occupations. And everybody's forgetting Krishna. No, just put Krishna in the center. It all belongs to Krishna. That's real Brahman realization. Really, Vishnu is everywhere. Vishnu is in the heart of every Deva and every human. You know, Vishnu's everywhere. He's in every atom. And it all belongs to Vishnu. Learn to see everything in relation to Vishnu. And see all persons as expansions of Vishnu, his little parts and parcels. That is Brahman vision. And then we do our work for Vishnu, because we're his servants. We're not just servants of this material world. We're not just servants of our country, of our family, you know, of our planet, of our universe. We're servants of Vishnu. And we're supposed to be performing our dharma for his pleasure, just like Arjuna. Arjuna was a military general. He had to do what military people do. But he did it for Krishna. He worked according to the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. So we do like that, whether we're a truck driver or, a computer whiz or whatever it be, school teacher. None of that matters. What matters is that I'm a devotee of Vishnu and I'm working for Vishnu. And then when we retire, we can more easily fix our minds on Vishnu. And when we're dying, we can more easily fix our minds on Vishnu. And that is success. Otherwise, if all this stuff is vague and I've just tried to do my dharma in this material world, like I went to one funeral and we had to praise the person, and she was a great dharmic person, really did a duty like anything. Couldn't say anything about being a great devotee, just about doing their material duty. Did great and expertly and never gave up to the bitter end, doing that duty. I didn't praise her like that, but the fact of the matter is that she really stuck to her duty. And Krishna says we should stick to our duty, but we should stick to our duty and be a devotee. So, that's the important thing. So, and I'll just keep kind of reiterating all this again and again. So, we can stop here and prepare for the verse tomorrow. Okay, any comment or question before we start the speaker, Prabhu?
Just a quick comment. So, Gaudiya Vaishnavas consider Srimad Bhagavatam as the natural commentary of Vedanta Sutra.
That's Mahaprabhu's teaching.
Yeah, that's why none of the previous acharyas attempted to write a commentary.
And we wasn't challenged like that. It's all, it's all, in one sense, the pastime of the Lord. How could Baladev Vijayabhusan have been so much glorified? The Lord likes to glorify his devotees. So, some generations later, we were challenged. Maybe at first we wasn't, because initially when things are new, they're smaller. But all of a sudden they grow and it's a little bit bigger, and then, people may think that they have a certain monopoly, like the monopoly of priesthood. We are the only ones who can do the worship. And the proof is Lana, the disciplic succession, commentary, disciplic succession's proof is commentary on Vedanta, traditional acceptance. Like that. So, as we grew, then gradually we became challenged. Just like, Prabhupada took Krishna consciousness to the West, and he was challenged. Is it authentic? What are you teaching? And, and people would say, this is just, and they would say that it's not religion. Why isn't it religion? You'd have some persons who would maybe say, because it's Hinduism. But that wouldn't be satisfactory in a court of law, So Prabhupada, Prabhupada had to defend, that we were actually bona fide. And it was accepted in American courts that, ISKCON is teaching, bona fide religion, spiritual teachings. And that was, 500, maybe 400 years after Baladev Vijayabhusan, maybe only 300, something like that. About 300 maybe. Yeah. So did that answer your question?
No, that was not my question.
What was it again?
I just made a comment.
Oh, what was the comment again?
The comment was that since Gaudiya Vaishnavas consider Srimad Bhagavatam as the commentary of Vedanta Sutra, that's why no one attempted to write a commentary.
Right.
But then when the other
when we were challenged,
did not accept it, then they had to write a commentary.
That was true. It's a perfect comment. Yeah.
And then Prabhupada also dedicated Bhagavad Gita as it is to Baladev Vijayabhusan.
Yeah, it sure did. Yeah, so it's so wonderful to be part of such a rich tradition, We're very lucky. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada has made our good fortune.
Yeah.